Hi everyone, my name is Jessica and welcome back. Today, on request of a friend, I want to make some bead crochet earrings with you. I'm definitely not an expert when it comes to bead crochet, and I just like doing it between big projects or projects when I'm get stuck or something, trying to design. But I really love doing it. But yeah, you might notice that I struggle a lot as well. So I already put a bead on a head pin and I made a little loop. This we are going to use as a little dangle on the bottom. We're going to need an ear hook, an eye pin, and two little bead cups that go up and down on the beaded piece. So let me get those out of the way. And there we go. I used a big eye needle to thread my beads on a wire. I'm using this wire. It's a cotton wire. It's 1 millimeter thick, if I'm not mistaken. I also want to apologize for the color that I'm using. This is not really the color I use a lot, but yeah, I have the beads and I need to get rid of them. So I put it in my needle, if it wants to, on my thread. Let me see, because there, I just put my needle on there. And I picked up 10 times this sequence. Now I'm using a size 9/0 bead in this project, but you can use a size 11/0, a size 8/0, a size 10/0, whatever you want to use as a bead size. And I am using those black ones are 2 on 3 millimeter crystal rondelles that I had lying around. So I also wanted to use those just to give a little bit more sparkle in my project. So I took 1 orange, 1 black, 2 orange, a black, and 1 orange. And I did that sequence 10 times. So if you take a look, this is actually all I threaded on there. I'm gonna be using a 6 bead setup. So I'm gonna slide the rest of my beads down, and these are the beads that are gonna be in my first round. Get it out of the way. I'm using a very thin crochet needle. This is a size 1.25 or 1.50, I don't know, but I tend to use very small crochet needles for bead crochet. So to start off, I'm gonna leave myself some end tail to sew in later, and I'm gonna start off by making a slip knot. So I'm gonna wrap it around my finger like that. I'm gonna go under the thread, grab the end tail and pull it through. Let me show you one more time. So I'm gonna pull it over my finger into a cross. I'm gonna go in here and grab the end tail and pull it through that loop. And if you pull those two, you have a slip knot. Make it a bit smaller. I do want to apologize in advance already because I'm really not an expert in bead crochet, but I really love doing it. And yeah, we will see how we manage here. So this is gonna be very hard to film, so yeah, let me see if I can maybe focus or zoom in a little bit. Yeah. Okay, here we go. So we have our loop, and I'm sliding my first bead down to that loop here. I'm gonna go under the thread with my hook, grab the thread, and pull it through that little loop. just like that. So actually what I did is capture that bead in here. So I'm gonna do that again. So I'm sliding down my second bead. That's a black one in my case. I'm gonna go under the thread and pull it through the little loop, just like that. Sliding my bead down, all the way down, grabbing my wire and pulling it through the loop. And we're gonna do this 3 more times, and then we're gonna start struggling. Well, at least I do. It's very hard for me as well, so it's a very, yeah, it's a learning process for us as well, you know. It's so sliding my bead down, grabbing my wire and pulling it through the loop. Last 2. So I made it to my black one, grabbing the wire and pulling it through the loop, and my last orange. Now, so it's very important when you do this that your bead is behind your crochet needle and then not hanging in the front of it. So this is what we have now, and as you can see, this already curls by itself, so that should make our next step a little bit more easy, right? Well, now in our next step, let me show you something. If you take a look at the back here, you see all those little V's, and in our the intention now is that we make this into a circle like that. So if you take your first orange bead here and you turn that around, you see like the V right here. So I'm gonna go into that V with my crochet needle and come out there. So we have this. I'm gonna slide down some beads and I'm gonna bring those two a bit closer together. Now in the next step we need to make sure that the bead is not standing up like that, but is lying flat behind your crochet needle. So let me try, and I really promise you this is, for me as well, this is the worst from my whole crochet project. So you need to make sure that that one lies flat, and I try to push it a little bit up on my finger, then that it stays in position. And I'm gonna guide my thread between those middle beads. So the one that I'm gonna sew over actually now, and this is the last one we added. So my thread is in the middle of those two. So I'm gonna slide this bead down, the bead of my next round, and now comes the tricky part, because I'm gonna have to move my hands. So this one needs to stay flat and this one needs to go down, and I want that in that position on this finger. So I'm gonna, and as you can see, I did this already 100 times and still, so like that. So I'm gonna do exactly the same now. See, and it doesn't want to stay. It figures. I'm gonna grab my wire and pull it through that first loop. And we have 2 loops now. So we're gonna take the first loop and pull that one through the second loop, but I'm very tight. Oops, like that. So I have one bead sitting on top. That's the bead of my next round. And now things get easier, I promise. So now we need to, you see the bead here, and I just go underneath that bead into the wire. So going under the bead there, and I'm also gonna put that one in a flat position, so it needs to be flat. I'm gonna slide my black bead down. Make sure your wire is in between the two beads. Push that one down a bit, like that. Grab your wire, pull it through the first loop. Have two loops, grab it again, and pull it through the second loop, like that. We have that orange bead, so I'm going under the bead, putting the bead behind my needle in a flat position, sliding down my next bead, going with my wire between the two beads, putting that one down, if it wants to. Beads sometimes have a life of their own. I'm gonna grab my wire, go through this first loop, and grab my wire again and go to the second loop. Like that. And this is actually all there is to it. So I'm gonna go under the bead, put the bead flat, see that my wire comes out in the middle of those beads, slide my next bead over, making sure my beads are always in the right position, grabbing the wire, going to the first loop, coming up, grabbing the first loop and going to the last loop. Once more, I made it to a black bead again. Now, as a basic tutorial, this is like the bead base and crochet basics. So I have a black one, and my next bead on my thread is a black one. So this way you can kind of keep control and see that you're not making any mistakes, because now I'm going into an orange. So if everything is correct, if I threaded my beads on correctly, then my next bead on my wire needs to be an orange. And this is like a safety net you have as long as you're working with stripes. Now in my next tutorial we are gonna drop the safety net. I mean, we're gonna do patterns, and I do managed to come up with a little trick, but still we need to get these basics out first. So now I did 2 rounds almost. My next one is a black one, so I need to go into that black bead right over there, pushing it to the other side of my hook, making sure that other bead is down, grabbing the wire and pulling it to the first loop, grabbing the first loop and going to the second loop. And I'm gonna keep doing this until I run out of beads, and I will meet you back when I finished all my beads. So I continued and I crocheted all my beads in the right place, and the only thing left to do is make one round doing the same thing like we used to do, but we're not gonna add beads this time. So I'm going underneath my bead, I'm gonna push my bead over, and I'm just gonna crochet like we did before, but I didn't add any beads. So that's number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. And my last one. Just like that. At this point, we can cut our wire. And I'm gonna pull on that loop, and I'm gonna open that loop up, and I'm gonna grab that end tail and pull it through there. So that actually ties a knot in our work. And then the only thing left to do is get rid of our threads. So I'm gonna take my big eye needle again, and I'm gonna put my wire in there. Now I'm gonna try on not going into any beads, but I'm just gonna go in between my beads, and this part can be hard because yeah, I kind of crochet very tight, and it is kind of a big wire that we're trying to sew in there, so it can be hard. So just give it your best, and if you don't manage to get in there, yeah, just pull your needle through with some pliers or something. And I will be doing this for the other side too, and when I'm convinced that my thread isn't going anywhere, I'm just gonna cut it off like that. I'm gonna do the other side now, and I'll meet you back when I get that one done. So I worked away my thread in my other side. So this is actually basically what I ended up with. At this point, we're gonna take our eye pin. I'm gonna put one of my bead caps on there, and if you take a look, you have like a small little hole inside of there, so you can just put your eye pin through that little hole. I'm gonna push that one down. I'm gonna take my other bead cap and slide it over. I'm gonna push that as hard as I can and grab it with my pliers, and I'm gonna bend it 90 degrees. I'm gonna cut off my excess right there. Oops. And we're just gonna make a little loop. So actually just like that. I need to adjust that because I didn't take a good look of what I was doing. Anyway, now it's, and there we go. Now the only thing left to do is opening up and why don't you focus? Yep, there we go. Opening up our loop, hanging our dangle on there, closing it up, and we're gonna do the same on the other side with our ear hook. Closing that one up again. And there you go. A nice pair of earrings. Like I said before, I really don't like the color combination, but well, maybe it will do for a Halloween project or something. Anyway, I hope you liked it, and I see you in the next tutorial. Bye bye!